So I'm Brian Grossman. I'm editor-in-chief of the Colorado Springs Independent, the Business Journal, and our military newspaper group papers. And I'll pass it off to Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Gillentine. I am the publisher and executive editor of the newspaper group here.
Amy, you have to pass it.
I'll do it. Mary Jo Mead. Oh, go ahead, Helen.
Same time. Okay, I'm Helen Lewis, managing editor at the Indy and the Business Journal. Sorry, Mary Jo.
That's okay. I'm Mary Jo, and Helen and I tag team that, so we're the same.
And Glenn.
And I'm Glenn Wallace, the editor of the Southeast Express.
All right. Gina, would you do the same and introduce yourself and tell us maybe a couple things we need to know about you?
Sure. I'm Gina Trivelli. I'm currently the deputy treasurer. I've been here, worked in the treasurer's office now for 20 and a half years, and I worked my way up to deputy. And my background before that was I'm a title examiner for real estate. And before that, I worked for the VA, assisting veterans with means testing and with their third-party medical claims. But now I'm here and I want to stay here.
And it looks like you came out here from Michigan, is that right?
Yeah, Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay. But you've been in Colorado for a few decades now?
31 years.
All right. So most people probably aren't real familiar with the treasurer's office. Can you sort of talk about the responsibilities and any sort of background that you have that's relevant?
Sure. Well, basically the treasurer's office, we're the banker for the whole county. And our main function of bringing in revenue is ad valorem taxes, which are taxes based on value. But other than that, it's every department that collects fees, they funnel through our office. We don't determine where that money goes, but we invest it and secure it and transfer it. So there's all sorts of checks and balances. And then with the real estate taxes, we disperse those each month to all the districts, and also with the specific ownership taxes that are collected by the clerk and recorder, those all are dispersed to all the entities, and there's like over 300. And so it's a pretty important task, and that has to be done by the 10th. And so, but that's really our main function. And now we're also, it used to be the top 10 counties had their public trustee. It was appointed by the governor, but then now it's been going on 3 years where now the treasurer in all the counties is now the public trustee. So we absorbed that office. And so both sides of our office for what we do is completely statute driven. And so it's not a lot of room for, in my mind, politics. But it has to be, we need to retain our staff, have knowledgeable and experienced staff, which we do. And we try to keep the numbers down. And so we can, everybody, we can reward them better. And where else am I going to go with that? And then we also, the big part of what the collecting taxes, the major part of that, unfortunately, is enforcement of collection. And that's really where I started. The position where I started was at that time paralegal. And what I did was process the tax deed. So when people, if taxes aren't paid, then each year we have a public auction where we actually auction off the taxes. And that way it makes the districts whole. And so the penalty to the owner is then there's a lien placed on their home, which starts to accrue. So all the districts get their tax money when a lien is purchased by an investor. And then we go through a statutory process. And if that lien isn't redeemed by the 3rd anniversary, then the investor can apply for a deed. And so that's really what I started doing. And so, and we don't want anyone to lose their home. And so and then with my title background, it was a great fit for me to come in at that, because usually our starting position is at the front counter, just, processing, waiting on the customers and that. But I kind of jumped in because of my title experience. And So, and it's pretty, and again, everything's by the statute, but you have to do all you can to try to contact these people and make sure that they understand, you know, because some people just think, well, I don't pay taxes. And they ignore the notices but we've, in the whole 20 years I've been here, the 20 plus years, I think it's actually now four houses that we've ever actually deeded. And 3 of those were just like run down, abandoned homes. But the majority of the things that we deed are just vacant land or strips of land or mineral interests that are severed from the real estate. And so, you know, I'm pretty proud of that no one's, you know, that we have a pretty good track record on that, of being able to find people and contact them. And then the same thing on the public trustee side, you know, that the tax sale is once a year, and then it's the 30th anniversary where people are in danger of losing their homes. But on the public trustee side, we have a sale every Wednesday. And so it's, and I don't know of any other office or any other job that you would have where everything we do, we have to deal with people that are potentially maybe losing their homes. And so, and I'm proud of everybody in here that we provide respectful, knowledgeable, I think great customer service. I mean, sometimes I can't get people out because they're like, well, I didn't expect to come in here and we thought you're all going to be mean, or you know? So I'm proud of that, and I want to continue that.
Any other experience in your current position that you wanted to point out that you think makes you exceptionally qualified?
Well, the whole 20 plus years I've been here, that we're currently on it's called a VAC system, and it's pretty impressive, but it's like late 70s, early 80s technology. And it's incredible what it can do, but it's outdated, you know, on the platform that it's built on, and a lot of that I don't understand. And so we've been several times in different processes where even our own IT tried to build a system to replicate the VAX that was more current, but even it's a pretty complicated system, especially for a county of our size. And so then we went out to get something like an off the shelf, and the assessor's office was also in the same boat. And so we chose the system that would service both offices, which we can't do our job unless we draw everything off the assessors. And I'll tell you, COVID really threw us a curve on that conversion. It really delayed things. And just again, with the volume of properties that we have, the volume of districts that we have here, we have these urban renewal areas where tax increment funding, it's very complicated. And so we're getting close to getting it completed, and we're hoping that maybe it'll be by the end of this year. But it's again, you know, I kind of don't want to be blaming COVID, but it really did. It had a big impact on where we were, you know, and it kind of stalled a little. And but that's going to be a major thing, because a big thing that we like, what the VAX really can't do is with this new system, it's set up to where more and more people want to do everything electronically. And so we can even email statements, and that's going to save the county postage, which is just incredible. And then again, the thing we learned from COVID too is a lot of people, you know, they couldn't come in, but we had to stay open the whole time because you can't take the money home. And so we had to work through it. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't, right? And so, but we learned, you know, we were introducing more and more like phone payment options, more on the internet, different. But right now, the county the treasurer's office, you can only, by statute, there's only certain fees that we can absorb or that we can charge. And so right now we can't absorb the convenience fee, which and people don't really understand that anytime that you buy something by debit or credit at a store, that vendor is eating that fee, but of course they can increase the cost of the product that you're buying. But here we can't absorb that fee because not everybody pays that way. And so I'm hopeful with this new system that maybe, you know, we could do more to save on postage in certain ways, where we can figure out a way, and the whole county is going to have to do that anyway, because things are going more where people just, they want to pay credit and debit. And so we're looking forward to that.
You talk on your website about the importance of aging in place and how property taxes can impact that. Can you talk about the homestead exemption and your position on that?
Yeah, you know, it's a state program, and it's an awesome program where it's the state actually backfills. It's up to 50% of the first 200,000 of the value of a home. But the two basic to qualify for that, you have to be 65, which is fine, but you have to have owned and live in your home as your primary residence for 10 years. And it just doesn't make sense to me that a lot of seniors, they you know, now their children are gone or whatever, you know, they want to downsize, but then they no longer qualify for that. And it just, to me, you know, if it's a state program, especially if they, or even if you want to say if they even remain within the county, they're still, you know, paying their taxes. And so we're a gal here, my tax compliance administrator, Christine Pasanelli. We've been trying to work with that. And then now I know Steve Schleicher is the current assessor, is trying to work on getting that so it's more, it's not so restrictive. And that all the application and all of that right now does go through the assessor's office. But there's another state program called the deferral program that we administer for the state through our office. But that's the difference there is the seniors still have to be 65, but there's no restriction on how long they've owned their home. But it's a lien that state actually pays all of their tax for them. And it's a low interest loan that would have to be paid back if they passed away, sold the home. So and a lot more seniors, because of that 10-year restriction, they're opting for that deferral program, but they can't continually do that because it can't exceed 75% of the equity of their home, the amount of liens compared to the value of their home. So, but right now, those are really the only things that can help seniors. And we all know, if we all live here in the county, that everybody's taxes have gone up so high that it's a struggle for people on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the system conversion, which is, you said it worked well, but it could be a lot better. Do you feel all around that the office has the resources to adequately perform its duties?
Oh, yes. But that's another reason why I feel, you know, with my experience here, you know, and I've been working on this, you have to know how things work, not just like to have the computer do it, but you have to have an understanding of how, like, to disperse to all these districts and everything. And so then with the help with this new conversion, to make sure, you know, with all of our testing and everything, to make sure that it is going to perform to do what we need to do. Because if we can collect the money, but if we can't get it dispersed, you know, what's the point of it? But it's with the COVID, it's just that it got delayed just because of people. We weren't able to have enough people in the IT to actually get the data over to them, and then they were losing people or didn't want to come in. You know, I mean, and we tried to do all this like Zoom, but it's difficult, especially at that point, it was kind of at the initial state, and we needed more like face-to-face to have the understanding, so they could understand our data, that's another reason it's kind of complicated, because the VAX is so outdated. The data that is retained in the VAX is like from forever. And so they had to weed through what was actually the important data instead of all the history data. And so it's just a lot bigger project than I thought. We thought, oh, good, we'll just move the data over and boom, right? But it's been, so I just feel like some of our gals here, I mean, it's these young people, man, they're understanding these computers inside and out, but I look at things in a different way. And I just know how what it should be, or how it should work. And they it's kind of having trouble with the words to say exactly how it is. It's because I've been doing it so long, I know, like I can look at something and know that, wow, something went wrong here. And we know where to find it. And I know the system inside and out, which has been helpful with this conversion, because like I said, especially with all that historic data in there, that this new company, they haven't seen that when they've done a conversion before. And so we have a couple of the guys that work on the VAX, and I work well with them because we understand it. And I would really, really like to see it through.
Yeah. Any other challenges you'd like to address if you're elected?
Well, the big one, the biggest thing is like what I talked about with the credit card payments and more online payments, and just making it more convenient for people. And it's like we really, because we have such a small staff, like we really can't have like drop boxes around or kiosks, because tax information changes all the time. Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, so if we make things more readily available and without fees and charges, where people, and more on the computer, but a lot of the older people don't want to be on the computer all the time, but and now with the phone payments, I just want to continue that to make it more convenient, and it's more efficient for us also.
Yeah. Why are you better qualified than your opponent?
I have the experience, and to me, and I don't want to sound, but I've been here long enough and worked for enough treasurers that some of these offices I don't even think should be elected. And so then when there's a lot of that where they just go from office to office, but we don't need a figurehead in this. I'm sure it's hard for me to understand where every 4 years somebody could just walk in off the street that doesn't know the job at all. And I want to work. I want to still continue to help people, and to work. And I have the experience, and I actually, which is kind of crazy, I enjoy my job, but I don't see where and again, because it's statute driven, you really, when you get people in that really don't know what you do, they want to come in and make all these changes. Well, you can't really. I mean, there's certain things, sure, you make things more efficient, this or that, but with the statutes, I mean, the timeline, the calendar for each month, you have to do certain things. And if you change one thing, it's going to snowball to change something else. And so and that's really why I would have been satisfied to, I'm ready, I can retire, but, and I thought, I would like to work a few more years. But when I found out that there was really no qualified came, it'd be different if like Mark Louderman, he was the assessor. Well, the assessor and the treasurer, one can't do without the other. And so he's been, other than Ken Kyle used to be the deputy treasurer, and he was my first treasurer, and he was a worker. He would do everything. He'd answer the phones, go up to process payments. And that's what I do too. And Mark, he's been able to help us so much because of his knowledge of how the assessment process works. But then I've had, and Sandra Damron was an accountant. And so, I mean, these were qualified, to me, perfect fits. But then we had another treasurer that didn't have any experience, and it's difficult when somebody comes in who's in charge and wants to change everything when they don't understand what you're doing. And so, and this office means a lot to me. It's after that long, and all of our employees here, I mean, we have some gals that have been here 25 years, and they want, and I'm just afraid, they want to keep things, they appreciate that too, when the head person is working and helping them right alongside of them, and it's, and we're get set in our ways, and we know what we're doing, and you don't like to have someone come in that just wants to change things. So unless
You talked about how the position is, mostly statutory and that politics don't really play a part. You are the Republican candidate. Do your political beliefs inform your decisions as deputy treasurer, and would they at all as treasurer?
Well, I would say, and this has been a real eye-opener for me because I've never really been involved in politics. I'm conservative by nature. I've always been a registered Republican, but now I realize a lot of these functions that I go to that I'm not quite as conservative as I thought. But but I think I'm conservative. Like, I don't like spending money, especially when it's not mine, and I don't like waste and things like that. And we try to do everything as efficiently as we can here. But the only time maybe politics would come into anything is like if a statute needed to be changed, or like for the homestead exemption, something like that, where you would have to actually approach, go through the legislative process to try to amend the statutes. But other than that, and for the whole 20 plus years I've been here, the statutes haven't really changed much. There's been revisions and additions, but the basic is worth 39, 10, 11, and 12. It's collection and redemption and the tax sale, and it doesn't vary. The same thing with the public trustee. And that's, again, and COVID was right when we took that on, and COVID happened. We're the only public trustee. And I'm assuming you know what a public trustee is. Should I? It's
you might want to explain a little bit for.
Yeah, the public trustee. Colorado's the only public trustee state. Other states have mortgages, but here in Colorado we have a deed of trust that is a mortgage. But the public trustee in all the counties now, they're a third party on that mortgage, and so whenever they're released, they have to go through our office. They have to make sure that everything is in order to release that mortgage. If the people have defaulted on their payments, then our office actually processes the foreclosure. And that's what that's, and so we have to work with the attorneys and the people when that happens, and it's all by statute. But the deal with the COVID is, because when it was national with all the moratoriums and like for the government-backed loans that you couldn't process a foreclosure at that time. But then, so we had a lot that were in process, but when all the other states, because it was a federal, the federal thing, or a lot of it was from the governor, but a lot of it was from the feds. And it's just, we had a lot of scrambling to try to see how to interpret those moratoriums of how it conformed to Colorado.
Mhm.
Kept our attorneys busy too, but it's been complicated. And again, it's set, and it's a system that works, and that's why, and it's statewide. But yeah, again, I just don't. And pretty much, I can't say what the difference would be if a Democrat was in office, because so far there hasn't been one in this office. But yeah, it's just my belief. You know, I don't like to waste anything, and we like to just be a fit. And like I said, that's why we don't just hire 50 people and then have to lay them off. And that's what used to happen with the public trustee's office, because the foreclosures go up and down. And then right now we have three gals and a chief deputy that oversee all the releases and all the foreclosures. And there's been like in 2009 and before that, where all of a sudden you're just slammed with foreclosures. And so the public trustee would have to hire more staff, but then it would fall off, and then you'd have to lay them off. But so the best thing now that with our offices are combined, just with tax collection, you know, we're really busy at the beginning of the year, but then even now it's starting to fall off because we're already past the first half deadline, the full payment. Now we're just looking at June 15th for the second half, and then it falls off even more. So all of our gals that are on the treasurer side, we're cross-training them where they can help process the releases and take some of that burden off of, you know, because it's pretty straightforward, you know, because you have to have, you know, just certain release documents. And so then the gals with the more experience on the public trustee side, they can focus on their foreclosures without us having to hire more staff. And so it's good for even on the tax side to learn more about the foreclosures. And the same thing with the foreclosures, they're learning more about the tax side. And so they can see things when like investors come in for the public trustee sale. And usually if a deed of trust goes all the way through foreclosure, it'll wipe out any liens that are recorded after the deed of trust. And so, but if there's a tax lien on the property, it doesn't matter. A tax lien is always superior. And so that's always been a problem with their investors because then they find out there's a tax lien and they think it should have been wiped out. But even these gals weren't really aware of, or it wasn't as easy for them to ahead of time know that information. But now, because we're all right here together, and so that's been a better service to those investors, and it's been working out pretty well.
Just a couple more for me, and then we'll see if anybody else has anything. What's a mistake you've made, and how did you work to rectify it?
A mistake?
Oh, yeah. You can pick one.
Oh, at the job, right?
Whatever you'd like to share, not limited.
Oh, I'd like to say I'm just perfect and that never happened. It's been a while, but you know, well, matter of fact, just the other, we have, I don't know how deep you want me to go, but we'll see. I'll throw this one out there and see if that's what you're looking for. But we have where people you can pay on our website. And the one downfall right now is so if you go in and make a payment, it's not posted for like 3 days at least. And so this individual had paid their taxes, paid the first half, but then they went back in and paid the first half again. And so we caught that and the reason that we were going to return one of them is because, so essentially their taxes were paid in full, but with them paying 2 first halves, they paid interest twice that didn't need to be paid. And so, there's only a couple of us in here that can reverse these payments. And if you catch them right away, you can just do it right away. And so I got the email, but it went to the other gal that can reverse them. And so she reversed the correct wrong payment. I went in and reversed the right payment. So then we don't have any money. And I was like, oh my. And so I got a hold of the bank as quick as I could, but they couldn't reverse the refund. And so I had to, get a hold of the property owner and explain that, yeah, you paid on time, but I'm sure sorry, but I gave your money back to you.
Mhm.
So, but then you have to, I had a boss before that, oh, you're still gonna have to charge them interest. But I'm like, it was my fault, and I told her flat out, it was my fault. And it was pretty inconvenient for her, because she already done it, but we got it all resolved.
They don't make you pay out of pocket when that happens.
What's that?
They don't make you pay out of pocket when that happens.
Thank God, because it was like $15,000.
Yeah. What kind of leader are you?
I'm kind of a, I don't like to micromanage. I don't like to, it's funny. I know I'm the leader, but I don't really, I feel like I'm one of the gals, but they respect that. If, we all work together, and I like to take the time when I see that somebody's that did something wrong, just to work with them, and they all, they don't get touchy about that. And I like to respect it, like if they're a few minutes late, I respect that they're going to stay a few minutes late, and we work things out that way. I don't like that putting the hammer down and you were 3 minutes late, or you can't, you were 5 minutes late coming back for your lunch. And I've worked through that. And so it's, there's bigger fish to fry than that. And so and again, it's just hard for me to, because I feel I work right alongside with everybody, and I'll do anything that they do, so, but I would just say I'm fair, and I expect them to do their job, and they do. And if they don't, we just have a talk, but it's more casual. I would say we've lived under some pretty heavy fisted and that just makes a bad environment. So really everybody here, they like coming in, and you can tell when somebody doesn't. And so, I'm thinking it's working.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to see if anybody else has any questions. Anyone?
Sure. Can you talk about how you mentioned working closely with the tax assessor? What are some other ways you collaborate with other, both within your office and with other county departments?
Yeah, well, the big one is the assessor, and then that's the other, we're the only office that works 1 year behind. And so we're collecting everything based off of the information from a year ago. And so, and there's a lot of things. And then when parcels get split or sold, that all goes through the assessor's office. And so we have to work with them to make sure that when there's problems with ownership or legal descriptions. And really, then finance is a big, another department that we work with a lot, because the county finance department, they probably have like 100 people. Our accounting department here has 3, but we do it. But all the money that is collected from other departments goes to our finance department, and then because they have more impact on where that money is going to go and how it's going to be dispersed, but then it's sent to us to be deposited. And so we work with them. And then whenever there's transfers or anything from account to account, we work with finance. And then on the tax side, really our only interaction, like with the clerk and recorder's office, is for mobile homes. because mobile homes are kind of a hybrid between real estate and personal property, but they're like a car and they have a title just like a car. And so if a mobile home is title needs to be reissued, they have to come to our office first to get proof that the taxes are paid. And so a lot of times we have a lot of communication with the DMV down there when people have trouble or if they don't have their title, and then we can try to help them different ways here to gain, like if there's a tax lien on a mobile home, they can get assignment of that lien sometimes and get a certificate of ownership. And so we have to work with the DMV with them on that. And then the recording department a lot, because of a lot of the releases that come through on the public trustee side are electronic now, and they can be recorded electronically, but a lot of them are paper. And so we have to work with the recording department. Then planning a lot of times when on the deeds in the county attorney's office a lot because of everything being by statute. And when there's I'm trying to think of something specific, but all these things will come up, or if we come across a lien that's on a property, either for processing a tax deed or through the foreclosure that we're not familiar with, which is surprising can happen because there's these new ones that they're coming out of Florida where these realtors are having people sign, they'll give them like $5,000 and have them sign this agreement that if they ever do sell their house, that they will use them as a realtor. But this agreement is like for 30 years. And then it says right within the verbiage of these documents that even if they lose it by foreclosure, that they still owe that money. But so things pop up like that. And so we work with our attorneys here to make sure that we're following the statutes and that what is a lien, because it gets complicated every once in a while. But I'd say basically that's really who we work with. Mainly the assessor and finance would be the big ones.
That's all I had. Excuse me, that's all I had.
I have one. Let's see, my mic's on. In one voter guide, you mentioned cybersecurity as a challenge. You've talked about moving to more credit card payments, being partway through this transition to a new system, and there's so much data that you're handling. So how does the office handle cybersecurity? And with all the changes that are underway, how are you going to improve cybersecurity to safeguard everything?
Well, we actually now, the county, just because of all these threats that come through, that's all through our IT. But what it's done, because especially when people are putting their credit card information onto our website and different things, every time they do an upgrade or they have to enhance the security, it makes it harder for a lot of people, depending on what browser they're using, to actually access our website again. And we don't want any data breach, so that is really, we actually have a whole department that's what their focus is anymore. But I just know it's a challenge because, we need to have where it's accessible and easy for people to pay online, but you also don't want to be in that boat where it's like, oh, everybody got your credit card information so. Yeah, I just know that it's been a big thing. Like even like I was just on vacation, went back to Michigan, I come back, my computer is completely like changed because they did all these enhancements and upgrades. It's like, I can't get in. And then with Internet Explorer going away, a lot of our, it's just everything moves so fast anymore that a lot of our systems, like we have it's called CAL. It's online where title companies can order tax certificates, but it was built on a platform that only works with Internet Explorer. And so, but now they've been working furiously they can actually now move it to the cloud and virtualize it, I guess. And so those things have been a challenge too, to make sure, because then we have to make sure every time, when things change like that and IT is working on it, just to make sure that we're testing it and that it is still functioning. And that's a big one. The title companies use that a lot.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Anybody else? Nope, everybody good? All right. Well,
I
Gina,
have
thanks
one,
for joining
sorry.
us. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Glenn had something.
Sorry, slow with that unmute button. Just really quick, is there anything else that you haven't mentioned already in terms of procedure or statute that you would like to change your work on if elected?
Well, the big one is that homestead exemption, because it's kind of heartbreaking for us when seniors, don't qualify for that anymore and they can't pay their taxes, and then if it goes into tax sale. So to me, that would be the big thing right now that is set by statute that needs to be amended. But other than that, it's the way the statutes are now, that's about the only one that really just kind of gives me a little heartburn.
Gina, did you want to add anything that we didn't discuss that you think is important?
Well, I'll just reiterate. I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm not much of a public speaker, but this job does mean a lot to me, and I am the most qualified candidate, and it's been a roller coaster ride though with this election thing. I had no idea what I was in for, but yeah, so it's something that you really need to plan ahead on. I should be prepared for, but no, the job means a lot to me, and the people mean a lot to me, and I'd be honored to be the treasurer. So.
Okay. We are going to put the videos that we're doing, like this one, up on our website, hopefully within the next week or so. And then we'll have our print edition out in mid-June with our endorsements. So be on the lookout for that. And we appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Gina.
so much.
Bye-bye.